A German Shepherd stopped a seasoned pilot from boarding his own plane. At first, passengers were outraged. But when security looked beneath the cockpit seat, what they found made everyone run for their lives. Let us take you back to where it all began. The cold white glow of fluorescent lights filled Terminal 3 at O'Hare International Airport. Officer Michael Reeves tugged his winter patrol jacket tighter, his breath fogging up in the icy January air slipping through the sliding doors. Beside him walked Titan, his loyal German Shepherd partner for over 3 years. Titan moved with the kind of calm intensity that only comes from years of training. Sharp eyes scanning every traveler, every bag, every subtle movement. They had worked countless shifts together. And not once had Titan reacted without reason. The terminal buzzed with tension. A snowstorm overnight had grounded dozens of flights. Passengers rushed through the building, anxious and frustrated. Flight crews hustled to get people back in the air. Another day in chaos. Just another day in paradise, right, boy? Reeves whispered. He reached down, gently scratching behind Titan's ear. The Shepherd leaned in for a moment, then returned to high alert. They were more than partners. They were instinctively in sync. Titan had earned the nickname the Professor from fellow officers. Always analyzing. Never barking unless something was truly wrong. That reputation had made Reeves and Titan one of the most trusted security teams in the airport. As they patrolled the international terminal, Titan weaved effortlessly between travelers and luggage. Every so often, he would glance up at Reeves. No words needed, just quiet understanding. But then, something changed. Titan froze. His ears perked sharply. His muscles tensed. Reeves followed his gaze, a pilot, walking confidently through the crew's security lane. Captain James Harrington, according to the ID badge clipped neatly to his chest. The man looked completely ordinary. Crisp uniform, calm stride. He gave a polite nod to the nearby security staff. But Titan did not see ordinary. Without warning, he growled. A deep, rising growl that turned into loud, persistent barking. He lunged forward, leash pulling tight, eyes locked on the captain. "Titan, heel!" Reeves commanded. But Titan did not listen. For the first time in their partnership, he broke formation. He stepped into the pilot's path. Body low, barking louder now. Drawing stares from passengers and crew alike. Captain Harrington stiffened. "What is wrong with your dog?" he snapped. "I have a transatlantic flight to board in 40 minutes. "I understand, sir," Reeves said calmly. "But my partner has never reacted like this without a reason." The captain's face turned red with frustration. "I have been flying for 15 years. I do not have time for this nonsense." Security Supervisor Diane Coleman approached calmly. Her expression was composed, but her eyes quickly scanned the scene, a barking German Shepherd blocking a uniformed pilot in the middle of a crowded terminal. "What is the situation, Reeves?" she asked softly, stepping beside him. "Titan is showing strong alert behavior toward the captain," Reeves replied, his voice low. Titan's focus had not wavered for even a second. "I have never seen him react this intensely to airline personnel, ever. This is absurd." Captain Harrington cut in, visibly agitated as he glanced at his watch. "Flight 8862 to London has already been delayed because of the snowstorm. I have 243 passengers waiting to board." Coleman's eyes moved from the barking German Shepherd to the red-faced pilot. "Officer Reeves, you know we cannot delay a flight just because your dog is having an episode." Reeves felt the weight of her words. But 3 years of working beside Titan had taught him one thing above all: trust. Titan had never been wrong. Not when he detected a concealed weapon in a false bottom bag last year. Not when he identified the drug smuggler with surgical implants just 2 months ago. Never. "I am requesting a secondary screening for Captain Harrington," Reeves said, standing firm. "Protocol allows for additional checks, even for flight crew." "This is not random," Harrington snapped. "This is harassment." I am calling the Airline Operations Center. As the pilot pulled out his phone, Reeves caught something. A tremor, subtle but present, in Harrington's right hand. And a tightness in his eyes. Was it fear, or something else? Not the typical reaction of a professional pilot selected for a routine screening. Sir, please come with us for a quick additional check, Coleman said, taking control. We will keep the process brief to minimize the flight delay. This is outrageous, Harrington protested, but Reeves noticed his eyes flick toward the nearest exit. An instinctual glance. Captain, Coleman added, voice firm now. This can be handled quietly, or officially, your choice. Harrington's shoulders sagged just slightly. Fine, but the airline will hear about this. As they began to escort him toward the private screening room, Reeves leaned closer to Titan, now slightly calmer but still alert. Good boy, he whispered. I trust you. Over his shoulder, Reeves saw the departure board still flashing. Flight 8862, delayed. Was he risking his career? Or preventing something far worse? The private screening room was stark and silent. White walls, a metal table, 4 chairs. And the buzz of overhead fluorescent lights casting no warmth. Titan remained seated by the door. Still, observant. Waiting. TSA Officer Marcus Wong entered methodically, clipboard in hand. Let us begin, he said. He examined Harrington's documents carefully. Everything appears in order, Wong announced a few minutes later. Captain James Harrington, 15 years with American Airlines, all certifications current, no flags in the system. Harrington sat with arms crossed, jaw clenched. As I said, now can I please report to my aircraft? The flight plan has been filed, and we are burning fuel on the tarmac. Reeves said nothing. He just watched, waited. Wong opened the flight bag next. Item by item appeared. A flight manual. Navigation charts. A spare set of epaulets. Reading glasses. An energy bar. A travel-sized toiletry kit. Nothing suspicious. Sir, would you mind removing your jacket? Wong asked, maintaining a calm, professional tone. With a sigh, Harrington complied. He peeled off his uniform jacket and placed it on the table with a sharp motion. This is beyond procedure, even for a random screening. Wong reached forward, carefully inspecting each seam, each pocket. Wong moved with steady hands, checking each pocket, every seam of the pilot's uniform. Reeves kept one eye on Titan. The German shepherd had not blinked, had not shifted. His stare remained locked on Captain Harrington, like a hawk tracking something unseen. Coleman stepped back into the room, her radio still clipped to her shoulder. Operations is standing by. They are positioning a backup pilot, just in case. But they need a final decision within 15 minutes. Pressure weighed down the room like a heavy curtain. Reeves could feel it pressing in. Despite his unshakable trust in Titan, the lack of evidence was gnawing at him. Then Harrington spoke, his voice softer now. Look. I get it. You are just doing your job. He offered a faint, almost apologetic smile. Maybe your dog picked up on my cat. I gave her medication this morning before heading out. Maybe it left a trace. It was a reasonable explanation. K9s were known to react to animal scents. And certain medications shared chemical similarities with restricted compounds. Wong stepped back from the table. Everything checks out, he said. Coleman exhaled, relief creeping into her voice. I think we can clear Captain Harrington. We will note the incident. But then... Titan barked, sharp, urgent, louder than before. He rose to his feet like a soldier receiving a command. This was not persistence. This was escalation. Reeves's instincts flared. Sir, he said slowly, cautiously, would you mind emptying your pants pockets as well? Harrington's expression twitched, a flicker so fast most would have missed it. Fine, he muttered. He emptied his pockets. Wallet. Keys. Loose change. A phone. Wong examined each item carefully, pausing on the phone. Standard iPhone. No modifications, no tampering. Are we finished? Harrington asked, his voice tight, reaching to retrieve his items. As he extended his arm, Reeves noticed something. A thin layer of sweat glistening on the man's wrist. His breathing had subtly quickened, no longer calm, no longer controlled. Actually, Reeves said firmly, I would like to request a full body scan and an ion detector swab. Harrington froze. That is not standard procedure for flight crew. It is, Coleman interjected, when there is reasonable suspicion. Her tone had shifted now, no longer doubtful. She had seen the change too. I need to call my union representative, Harrington said quickly. Coleman nodded to Wong. Your phone will remain here during the screening, Captain. The atmosphere shifted, heavy, electric. What had begun as a minor disruption now felt like the opening scene of something far more dangerous. As they prepared to escort Harrington to the advanced screening chamber, Titan moved again. His nose lowered. His body tensed. But this time, he was not watching the pilot. He pulled toward the table, toward the uniform jacket still resting beside Harrington's flight bag. Reeves narrowed his eyes. He is trying to tell us something, something specific. Go ahead, boy, he said softly. Titan moved with surgical precision, sniffing along the fabric, slow, focused. Then he paused. His nose pressed against the left collar of the jacket. He pawed at the lapel, not violently, but insistently. Harrington shifted in his seat. This is absurd, he said, voice rising slightly. That is a standard issue uniform, provided by the airline. But Reeves remembered something. 6 months ago, a smuggler had hidden contraband in the stitched lining of a hoodie. Invisible to the eye, undetectable in pat-downs. Titan had found it back then too. I would like to examine this more closely, Reeves said. He picked up the jacket and ran his fingers along the collar, the lapel. The exact spot Titan had flagged. It felt normal at first. But then, something. The stitching on the left lapel, it felt just slightly different. Tighter. Firmer. Almost invisible. We need the portable imaging equipment, now. That scanner, Reeves said quietly. The kind they use for suspected electronic concealments, we need it, now. Harrington's face flushed with disbelief. You are tearing apart my uniform because of a dog's behavior? He snapped. This jacket is custom-tailored, worth over $3,000. Coleman hesitated for a moment, then gave the order. If nothing is found, the department will compensate for any damage, but we are not taking chances. While they waited for the equipment to arrive, Reeves felt a familiar knot forming in his chest. He glanced at Titan, still seated, still focused, still waiting. This dog had never failed him. He remembered the time Titan had sniffed out a memory card hidden inside a hollowed-out pen. That one tiny chip had held video evidence that cracked open a human trafficking case. Another time, Titan had detected explosive residues so faint, even the lab had missed it on the first test. 12 years in law enforcement, Reeves murmured to Coleman. And I have never seen a K9 as consistent as him. Titan does not make mistakes. The imaging technician arrived, rolling in a portable X-ray unit. Carefully, they positioned the jacket on the scanning tray. Everyone leaned in, eyes fixed on the glowing screen. For a moment, nothing. Then, as the scanner passed over the left lapel, something appeared. A thin, flat object, embedded deep within the fabric. Barely visible, nearly invisible to the naked eye. What is that? Coleman asked, leaning closer. The technician adjusted the settings, enhancing the image. It looks like a microchip, or a flat electronic component, something custom-made, very small. All eyes turned to Captain Harrington. His face had gone pale, lips slightly parted, sweat now openly visible on his brow. Captain, Coleman said sharply. Care to explain what is hidden in your uniform? Harrington's mask finally cracked. I want a lawyer, he said quietly, but firmly. Reeves exhaled, and knelt beside Titan, who had now settled calm, still. His job was done. Good boy, Reeves whispered. You were right, all along. For a moment, everything faded, the noise, the tension, the cold fluorescent lights. It was just Reeves and Titan. Michael Reeves had not always trusted dogs. Growing up in South Chicago, he had been bitten by a neighbor's Rottweiler when he was just 8 years old. The scar on his forearm had faded, but the fear had lingered for years. By the time he joined the Chicago Police Department at 23, that fear had mostly faded. But he never imagined he would become a K-9 handler. That changed one cold evening during his 4th year on the force. He had watched Officer Patrice Williams and her Belgian Malinois, Rex, track a kidnapping suspect through an abandoned industrial park. They had found the child, a 6-year-old girl, hidden inside a locked maintenance shed. The precision, the bond, the silent understanding between handler and dog. It had struck something deep inside him. 3 months later, he submitted his application to the K-9 unit. His supervisor had been surprised. You sure about this, Mike? The sergeant had asked. K-9 work is not just a job, it is a lifestyle. That dog goes home with you, lives with you, depends on you. I am sure, Reeves had replied, more confidently than he felt. The Homeland Security K-9 training center in Texas had eventually paired him with Titan. Then just a 2-year-old German Shepherd. A washout from 2 prior training attempts. Not because of lack of talent, but because of something the instructors called excessive analytical behavior. Most detection dogs alert instantly when they hit a scent, head trainer Martinez had told him. Titan doesn't, he pauses, he thinks, he verifies, then he alerts. It makes him slower in certification tests, but in complex environments, he is more accurate than most. The first few weeks together had been anything but smooth. Reeves, still learning the fundamentals of K-9 handling, often grew frustrated during training. Especially when Titan would pause in the middle of detection drills. Lingering, sniffing longer than expected, seeming almost distracted. But then came the breakthrough. It happened during a training scenario. The instructors had planted explosive material in a controlled environment. But Titan ignored it. Instead, he alerted on an airport worker's bag that had not been part of the exercise at all. Security stopped the man and found undeclared prescription medications inside. Medications that included chemical compounds commonly used in improvised explosives. He was not wrong, Trainer Martinez had said, eyes widening. He was just being thorough. That day, everything changed. Reeves stopped rushing Titan. He started trusting him. Once that happened, their certification scores improved dramatically. And when they were finally assigned to O'Hare's International Terminal, they quickly earned a reputation. The team that found what others missed. Their most critical case came just 8 months earlier. Titan had alerted to a diplomatic pouch, technically outside their authority. Reeves had hesitated only for a second, then delayed the diplomatic courier. It sparked an international incident. But when investigators opened the pouch, they found forged diplomatic credentials and smuggled biological samples. That case had earned them commendations. But more importantly, it had solidified a truth Reeves carried with him like armor. Trust the dog. When in doubt. When under pressure. When faced with skepticism from above. Trust the dog. Even now, as the investigation around Captain Harrington escalated into something far beyond airport protocol, that mantra echoed through Reeves's mind. The specialized TSA technical team had arrived. Under the examination lights, they worked with surgical precision, carefully cutting through the seams of Harrington's uniform lapel. In the corner of the room, Harrington sat handcuffed to a chair. He had not spoken since requesting a lawyer 15 minutes earlier. Careful, said senior technician Sophia Lynn. Her colleague gently extracted a paper-thin object from the lining. The room went silent. She placed the component into a specialized evidence case. Roughly the size of a postage stamp, but thinner than a credit card. Copper traces lined its surface. A faint glow pulsed near what looked like a micro-power source. "Initial assessment?" Coleman asked. Lynn peered through a magnifying lens. "It is not commercial. This is custom-built. Could be a triggering device, or a remote activation chip." Reeves felt the air thicken. "A trigger for what?" he asked quietly. "That," Lynn said, "is what we need to find out." She connected the evidence container to a scanner. Data began to stream in. "Whatever it is," she added, "your dog kept it off that aircraft." The door opened behind them. FBI Special Agent Victor Ramirez stepped in. He held a tablet in one hand, scanning the screen as he spoke. "Captain James Harrington," he said. "Or should I say, James Harrington Kaiser." The man's head snapped up, eyes wide. The color drained from his face. "Facial recognition just confirmed a match," Ramirez continued. "You disappeared from Interpol surveillance in Frankfurt 3 years ago. Your activities with extremist groups left quite a footprint." Suddenly, Harrington lunged. Despite being cuffed to the chair, he threw his full weight forward. The metal legs screeched against the floor as he surged toward the door. 2 officers reacted instantly, slamming him to the ground. But not before he managed to sink his teeth, hard, into the arm of one of them. "He is biting down on something!" Ramirez shouted. "Suicide pill! Get medical in here now!" Chaos erupted. Medical staff rushed into the room. 2 agents held Harrington down as a paramedic forced open his jaw. A partially dissolved capsule was pulled from his mouth, seconds from finishing the job. He was quickly strapped to a gurney and wheeled toward the airport's medical center. Fast, efficient, and barely breathing. "He will survive," the paramedic assured them. "We got most of it out in time, but he will be unconscious for a while." The room slowly quieted. But the urgency had only grown. Lynn turned back to her equipment. Her hands moved quickly, eyes scanning every detail. "It is definitely a custom-built activation trigger," she confirmed. "Designed to interface with something else, something that is not in his possession." Ramirez looked to Reeves. "We need to search the aircraft. Now." By the time the emergency evacuation order was issued, Flight 862 had already been fully boarded. Passengers filed out onto the snowy tarmac, wrapped in coats and confusion. Mothers clutching children, businessmen glancing at watches. Every face painted with frustration and fear. The Specialized Explosive Detection Unit boarded the plane, a Boeing 777, beginning a full sweep. Titan led the line, working alongside bomb-sniffing dogs. But this time, his movements were slower, deeper, deliberate. Every corner, every compartment. One section at a time. Then, in the co-pilot's seat, Titan paused. He lowered his head, sniffed once, then again. And barked once. The cushion was carefully removed, revealing nothing unusual at first glance. But hidden inside the seat's mechanical adjustment system was something far worse. A second electronic device. This one, larger, more advanced. Wired into the seat frame, with components wrapped in a casing designed to look like standard hardware. The technician's face paled. "Confirmed, remote-triggered explosive device," he said, stepping back. "Low metal content, very sophisticated, would not have been picked up by routine security scans." Reeves swallowed hard. "How bad?" The technician hesitated, then answered quietly. "If it had detonated midair, it would have breached the cockpit floor, damaged core flight systems." He looked down at the device. "Catastrophic." A moment later, Ramirez's phone rang. He stepped aside, answered briefly, then turned to the team. "He is awake and talking. Captain James Harrington, or Kaiser, sat propped up in a hospital bed. His wrists were secured to the frame, his skin pale beneath the sterile glow of hospital lights. 2 FBI agents stood posted at the door. Reeves, Coleman, and Ramirez entered the room. Titan had been left outside, guarded by another handler, standard procedure for interrogations. Ramirez did not waste time. "The device has been found and neutralized," he said. "We know about the bomb hidden in the cockpit. What we do not know is whether there are more." Kaiser's eyes shifted slowly between them. He was weak, physically drained. But behind his gaze, his mind was still calculating. "I want immunity," he said. "You are facing federal terrorism charges," Ramirez replied flatly. "Attempted destruction of an aircraft in flight. Immunity is not on the table." The room went silent. Then Coleman stepped forward. 243 passengers, Captain," she said softly. "Plus the crew, children, families, people who trusted you with their lives." Kaiser's eyes flickered. Her words hit something beneath the steel. His shoulders dropped slightly. "It was not supposed to be like this," he said finally. "Originally, it was just intelligence gathering, surveillance, nothing more." Ramirez pulled out a small recorder, placing it on the table beside the bed. "Start from the beginning." The story that unfolded was far more complex than anyone had anticipated. Kaiser, once a respected commercial pilot for over 15 years, had indeed lived a double life. His recruitment had taken place during a layover in Istanbul. The approach was subtle, calculated. His early tasks had seemed harmless. Observing security protocols, mapping out weak points in various international airports, sometimes transporting encrypted data between cells operating in the shadows. "They call themselves Ascension," Kaiser explained. "They are not like other groups, they are patient, methodical. Some of their operations are planned years in advance." "And this operation?" Reeves asked. "Phase 1 of 3. Kaiser replied without hesitation. "Simultaneous strikes on 3 transatlantic flights, to prove that even post-9/11 protocols can be bypassed. My flight was the test case." What followed was a full confession. Kaiser detailed how the explosives had been handed to him during a layover in Dubai, just 3 weeks earlier. How he had installed them during routine aircraft inspections, maintenance periods when pilots are commonly left unsupervised on board. The triggering mechanism, hidden in his uniform, was set to activate only once the plane reached cruising altitude over the Atlantic. Ramirez leaned forward. "The other 2 pilots, are they in place?" Kaiser nodded slowly. "One departing Frankfurt to New York. The other, Paris to Chicago. Both flights leave within the next 48 hours. Coleman was already on her phone, coordinating with Interpol and Homeland Security. But then Kaiser lowered his voice. "There is more." His eyes flicked to Reeves. "An apartment. Chicago. Lakeside Towers. Unit 512. The network keeps a safe house there." A tactical team was dispatched immediately. Within the hour, Ramirez's secure tablet began flooding with images from the scene. The apartment had been converted into a full-scale operations center. Blueprints of major international airports, detailed security protocols, flight paths, airline crew rotations, and most disturbing of all, precise technical schematics for the explosive devices. Ramirez scrolled through them, his expression darkening. "This goes beyond 3 planes," he murmured. "They are mapping out the entire global aviation security system." Kaiser nodded grimly. "The attacks were just a demonstration. The real target is the infrastructure itself. They want to expose every flaw and use it systematically." "Names," Ramirez said firmly. "We need names now." Kaiser gave them what he could. But the network was structured like a chain of shadows. Each cell kept isolated, compartmentalized. His only known contact had been a woman referred to only as the coordinator. They had met just twice. always in crowded terminals, always places where surveillance was limited. She will be watching the news, Kaiser warned. When my flight does not go down, she will know something is wrong. They will activate contingency plans. What kind of plans? Coleman asked. I do not know the details, but there is a secondary operations center somewhere, near the airport. That was enough for Ramirez. As they stepped out of the hospital room, his voice was low but urgent. We need to find that second center, and fast. Reeves remained quiet. But his thoughts turned to Titan. The shepherd had sensed something no one else could. Even now, Kaiser himself admitted. The device was not supposed to be detectable. I do not understand, he had said earlier. These components were tested against K9 units in 3 different countries. Nothing should have triggered. Yet Titan had. Reeves had only offered a quiet smile in return. Then either my dog is incredibly lucky, or he is better than anything they trained against. Kaiser had said nothing more. But the look in his eyes told them everything. Titan had outsmarted the system, again. I know someone who can help, Reeves said quietly, eyes drifting toward the exit. Titan waited just beyond the glass. Posture alert, body still. Despite the hours that had passed since their morning patrol had turned into something far greater. Snow was falling heavily now, thick flakes swirling in the cold wind. Inside the airport maintenance area, the tactical team gathered, breath fogging in the freezing air. Reeves checked Titan's vest again, the ballistic padding snug around his ribs. Then fastened the special booties, designed to protect his paws from glass, debris, and chemical hazards. Tactical overview. Commander Wilson began, tapping the airport blueprint on a tablet. The maintenance sector has 5 separate buildings. Based on Kaiser's intel and triangulated data from known contacts, we believe Building C is our most likely target. Ramirez nodded. Our suspect, the woman known as the coordinator, likely does not know we have Kaiser in custody. But she will grow suspicious when that flight does not go down. Which means, Coleman added, we may be walking into a cleanup, evidence destruction in progress. Reeves knelt beside Titan. You ready, boy? Titan gave a soft huff, muscles tensed, eyes alert. That was all Reeves needed. The team approached in silence. 3 tactical squads moved in, each from a different direction. Reeves and Titan were with the main entry group. As they neared Building C, a nondescript concrete structure tucked near runway electrical systems, Titan's behavior shifted. His steps slowed. Nose dropped to the ground. Movements sharp, focused. He has something, Reeves whispered into his radio. The team took position. On my mark, Commander Wilson said. 3, 2, 1, breach. The door crashed open, boots thudding against concrete, weapons ready. The front office looked ordinary. Maintenance logs, metal shelves, electrical manuals neatly filed. But Titan was not interested in any of it. He pulled sharply toward a door marked electrical access only. His urgency was unmistakable. The team followed quickly, down a narrow stairwell that was not shown on the airport's official blueprints. At the bottom, they found what looked like a standard maintenance room. Except it wasn't. A woman stood beside a laptop, her hand hovering just above the keyboard. FBI! Hands where we can see them! Ramirez shouted. But instead of surrendering, she pressed a key and reached into her jacket. 2 officers tackled her instantly, slamming her to the floor as the rest of the team secured the space. Titan barked sharply, pulling Reeves toward a metal cabinet bolted to the wall. Check that, Wilson ordered. Reeves opened the cabinet. And froze. Explosives. At least 20 units. Each similar to the device found aboard Flight 862, but with different mountings, varied triggers, intended for other aircraft, other crews. She was initiating a data wipe, the tech specialist said from behind the laptop. But we stopped it in time. The woman was identified as Elena Vav. a name that had surfaced in connection to several extremist groups, but never confirmed. She said nothing as they cuffed her and led her away. But the evidence spoke for itself. The room was a blueprint for mass destruction. Blueprints of airport terminals, security rotation schedules, airline crew identities, and, most disturbing of all, personnel rosters, names, faces, photos. They were not just targeting buildings or planes. They were targeting people. The files told a deeper story. Dozens of names. Flight crew recruits, all with clean records. All groomed for future infiltration. "This is not about today's flights," Ramirez said, scrolling through the recovered data. "This is a long-term operation, years in the making." While the FBI evidence team documented the scene, Reeves moved quietly with Titan, checking every inch of the room, one last time. In the far corner, behind a ventilation panel, Titan's ears perked up, nose twitching. Then the alert. Hidden inside was a small hard drive. "Final insurance policy," Wilson muttered, securing the device. Outside, emergency vehicles lined the maintenance road, their red and blue lights flashing against falling snow. The air was still, cold, heavy with realization. Inside the command center, the magnitude of what they had stopped began to settle in. "It started with just one pilot," Coleman said, her voice quiet. "If your dog hadn't stopped him." Reeves nodded, scratching behind Titan's ears. "One flight becomes 3. 3 attacks become a blueprint for dozens more." Titan looked up at him, snow gathering gently on his thick black fur. Mission accomplished. 2 days later, Reeves stood quietly in the airport's administrative conference room. Titan sat at his side, groomed, composed. Wearing his formal K9 harness, the department badge gleaming on his chest. Airport Director Margaret Chin addressed the room. "Thanks to the exceptional coordination between Officer Reeves and his K9 partner Titan, along with the TSA, FBI, and airport security, a catastrophic terrorist plot was prevented." Her voice was solemn, measured. "International authorities have confirmed the successful detention of 2 additional pilots in Frankfurt and Paris. What could have been a synchronized attack was stopped in time." Ramirez stepped forward. He glanced at Reeves and nodded with quiet respect. "The data recovered from the Secondary Operations Center has identified 17 Ascension operatives across 8 countries. Arrests are already underway." Reeves listened quietly, one hand resting gently on Titan's head. For the German shepherd, it had been just another day. He did not know the full extent of the danger, or the lives he had saved. He only knew that something was wrong, and that he would not stop until someone listened. Director Chin continued. "Officer Reeves, the Department of Homeland Security has formally requested that you and Titan consult on future aviation security strategy. Your methods, particularly your unwavering trust in your partner's instincts, even when protocol said otherwise, represent exactly the kind of adaptive thinking we need." As the meeting ended, and hands were shaken, and quiet congratulations were exchanged, Reeves knelt beside Titan. He pressed his forehead softly against the shepherd's. "Good boy, Titan," he whispered. "The best boy." Titan's tail wagged, just once. His eyes lifted, warm, alert, steady. Then his ears twitched, and he looked forward, already thinking about the next patrol, the next threat, the next life he might save, before anyone even realized it needed saving. Together, they turned and walked back toward Terminal 3, back to their post, back to the thousands of travelers who would never know how close they had come to disaster, or that their safety had been secured by a quiet officer and the extraordinary dog who never stopped believing his instincts. With 4 paws and unwavering instincts, Titan refused to let a pilot board his own plane, and because of that, hundreds of lives were saved. Have you ever witnessed a working dog like Titan in action, at an airport, a train station, or in a public space? We would love to hear your story in the comments below. Would you trust your pet's instincts, even if you could not explain why? Many handlers believe their canine partners can sense what humans often miss. Their loyalty, their training, and something deeper, something we still cannot quite understand. What is the most incredible animal story you have heard? One where a dog or any animal prevented a disaster, or saved a life? Share it with us. We read every single comment, and who knows, your story might be featured in a future video. Are there other canine heroes you would like to see featured here? Let us know what inspires you most. We are always listening. If Titan's incredible save at O'Hare International Airport moved you, do not forget to subscribe for more amazing stories just like this one. Click the bell icon so you never miss our Tuesday and Friday uploads. Because the bond between a handler and their canine partner is unlike anything else in law enforcement. It is built on trust, instinct, and silent communication that saves lives. Every single day. Drop a like if you believe these brave canines deserve more recognition for their life-saving work. And share this video with friends and family who appreciate the courage of working dogs. Together, we can shine a light on these unsung four-legged heroes. Check out our previous K9 stories now appearing on your screen, including the story of Rex, who tracked a kidnapper through a blizzard, and Luna, who uncovered a hidden human trafficking operation at a border checkpoint. Remember, sometimes, the greatest heroes walk on four legs. We will see you in the next video.